a little bit north to Enterprise, Mayhaw, just over into parts of Damascus. So there's a line of that rotation that we're still tracking where multiple problematic spots are popping up as far as tornadic activity goes. Now, as far as hail goes, there's still some hail possible within some of these stronger storms that could cause some damage. I mean, we've seen historically with this storm, 1 inch to 1.25 inches as ping pong sized hail move through with some of these stronger storms. So there's a lot of different hazards going on all at once. I know it's a lot, but all I can say is if you are in this line of storms, you're getting these warnings, go ahead and just take cover now and grab what you can to stay safe. I mean, we want you to stay safe throughout this storm, especially as it continues to pass through. I mean, even back here, we're not quite into our area yet, but there is a tornado warning popping over I-10 right now, and that's just to the southwest of Chattahoochee. So here's Decatur County, that line right there, Decatur County popping over. No tornado warnings for you yet, but just keep in mind, historically, these are going to be longer path tornadoes. And there is a good possibility that you'll either be dealing with the high wind or the tornadic activity over the next couple of minutes. But first, let's go ahead and look at what's going on right now. And that's going to be for these two counties. So here's Miller County, here's Damascus, here's 75, just south of Early County and Blakely. We do have an area of concern of rotation right there about to jump over the 27 line. So if we kind of look at our velocity scans here, we're still, now it's just passed over 27, kind of a delay on that Barron model there, but just look at this rotation here right across places like just south of Arlington, Rowena, Crossroads, Nicholasville, Douglasville, Jonesboro, Ivy's Mill, all those areas right around that path. You can see it pretty tight there. That couplet is tightening up where those reds and those greens kind of meet away and then towards that counterclockwise rotation. That's what we look for when we're looking at velocity couplets, that tight rotation where we can see on the radar scan how much of that atmosphere is closing together and rotating. And that's exactly what we have right there. So places like, again, Nicholasville and Douglasville. Nicholasville, you're going to see that activity in just a few minutes. It's already pretty windy across your area, but places around Randall Lane, parts of Rowena, County Road 166 down 216 right through Nicholasville, Jones Spur, and then Commissary Hill, all those areas in that path of that rotation that's now moving about 55 miles per hour to the north. So we're going to keep an eye on this storm for you, obviously, especially with this kind of rotation that we have there a little bit to the further south. Places like Colquitt is along this line of storms that can cause and can produce rotation. So we're going to keep a close eye on that for you. Right now, it's looking like pretty high winds in the area. So even kind of looking at some of our scans of what we can expect for some of these higher wind counts as it moves, of course, like 55, 60 mile per hour gusts, definitely not out of the question. Places like Babcock, you're about to feel that wind as it pushes forward that line right there on you, just a little bit to the west, but moving very quickly. Also rain wrapped as well. So another thing I do need to say is please don't go out looking for these tornadoes or tornadic activity, trying to confirm them. Please stay inside because no matter what, we're going to have wind, so that not only wind is going to be moving that rain sideways, and that's going to be low visibility, but these storms are rain wrapped. So not only do we have a lot of wind and a lot of rain, you're not going to see the tornadoes if they are touching the ground. So please don't go outside trying to look for those tornadoes or trying to confirm them for us. We have a lot of data right here, and we'll just help you as much as we can. So again, there's still an ongoing tornado warning for parts of Miller County. Just to the west of us, just to the west of this is going to be Decatur County and Seminole County, just to the west of that. We also have another system kind of tracking down this line, still have one in Weewahitchka, and that is now moving to the east. So, along this line, we've been seeing this tornadic activity all morning long. We're going to be on air as long as these tornado warnings are on air as well. And outside of the tornado warnings, I do have to say that we need to take a look at the line of storms here. I mean, it's an impressive line that goes all the way from basically central Georgia all the way down to the coastline. And where we're finding these storms that are tornadic or have high wind are going to be right there along the leading edge of that storm. which is just now making its way into parts of our area. So even just kind of zooming in here, parts of the tri-state area, there's the Bainbridge, there's Donaldsonville, there's Decatur County, Miller County, Seminole County. All these areas are areas with that tornadic activity this morning, at least under tornado warnings along this line of storms. Now, obviously, we've seen quite a few go over the Panhandle, and as that instability increases and that storm line increases through our area, there's a good chance that we're going to be on air quite a bit updating you with some of these tornado warnings. But for now, right now, we're just watching these two to the north here, kind of zooming in across our area. Places still under that warning include places like Colquitt and Donaldsonville in our area. Now, if we look at the velocity scan here, this is the area of main concern that I see, at least, is going to be across places just north of or just between Arlington and Rowena. You can see that area of rotation is quite tight there. That's a velocity couplet. That's where we can find that a lot more of that rotation, at least radar indicated, is occurring. So I'm going to zoom in here for us so we can get some of those roads for you as this continues to move to the north and to the east. Nicholasville, and parts of Jones Spur, all those areas, please take cover now if you're not already doing so. Commissary Hill, Williamsburg, I know you're out of that tornado warned area, but that storm is still tracking to the northeast very quickly at 55 miles per hour. It will be near you soon. And again, even if this isn't rotation as far as tornadoes goes, we do still have some high wind out in front of that line of storms. So Douglasville as well. You're seeing some areas of very high wind now. If you're outside of Douglasville, basically between Douglasville and Ivy's Mill, that's going to be an area where you want to take cover. You see how fast these scans are updating. But this is going to be really the area of concern at the immediate moment. But that doesn't mean that we can't see more of that rotation starting to pop up in areas of concern along this line as well. Coast of Bethany, Crestview as well. All these out Milford, Ivy's Mill, all those areas, go ahead and take cover now before that storm is on top of you. So let's go ahead and go back down to this second storm here and kind of reset for us and see what's going on. So we have a line of storms. We'll go back to radar here in just a second. You can see just from the velocity, that wind out ahead of the storm is very high. So you're going to get wind no matter where you live. But we are looking at an area or two of rotation that's concerning for our forecast area right this second. And that's going to be these two storms kind of moving just to the south of Early County, kind of moving right out of our area actually now is that northernmost one as it kind of just graces Damascus and then is heading to the northeast, closer to Morgan and to our north. This system still just moving to the east of Colquitt, also a concern of ours. But again, down into Chattahoochee, Bainbridge, that's Decatur County. Wind is picking up right now. Those storms are on the way. We do still have some high wind associated with this line of storms. So this storm that I was just talking about that had the impressive couplet is now confirmed. It is on the ground. So we do have that storm now on the ground. It is confirmed. And let's see where this... There we go. So here it is right here. This is the storm of concern, Arlington into Williamsburg, Jonesboro, all those areas. Again, please take cover now, especially because we do have that storm now confirmed into heading to Morgan at northeast. That is that purple outline there. You can kind of see it just on the outside. That means that storm has either been spotted or is confirmed by debris signature. So even if we kind of look at our debris signature here, this coefficient correlation, let's see if this is going to show us anything. Yep, there we go. So this is a low return. So what happens is with that return, coefficient correlation, I would assume that this is going to be either sighted or we also have a debris ball here for sure. But along this area, that debris is being picked up, lofted into the air. This is Commissary Hill, and it's showing up on radar. So typically around this, you would see some heavier returns that would be more like rain or hail or things like that. But the bigger the object, the lower the return. So this is going to be debris. These are branches. These are parts of houses. Anything that's in the area that's being picked up, lofted into the air, and this is how we get a debris return. A return of a debris ball. So we know that something's on the ground, a tornado, is now lofting this debris in the air. So now that's a confirmed tornado on the ground. There's debris. So, I mean, that debris can go out quite a ways. So even if you're not in the immediate area, that debris ball getting bigger, even if you're in Williamsburg, say, that storm, yes, is getting closer to you, but it's good to take cover now, not only because the wind's picking up and there's a tornado on the way that is now confirmed on the ground, but that debris can go for miles outside of your area. So something to really think about is going to be important to take shelter. I can't stress that enough for these areas just outside of Commissary Hill. So places like Bogey Creek Road, Georgia Highway 45, all the way at 45 to Morgan. Morgan, you're in the path of this storm. Places like Williamsburg Road, Highway 37. I mean, yes, it looks like you're a far away, but that storm is moving quickly at 55 miles per hour to the northeast. So something to really think about there as you're heading out. Commissary Hill, that storm just now moving over you. And again, a confirmed tornado on the ground, moving over Bogey Creek, Williamsburg Road. There's Williamsburg. There's Highway 45, and then moving up to the northeast, and here's Morgan, the city of Morgan. So please be careful out there as the storm moves to the northeast. It is moving out of our area, but if you have people that you know that are up in this area, please give them a call and let them know that it is time to take shelter now. So here's that debris ball, and we're still watching the storm as it moves to the northeast out of our area, but still affecting some of our neighbors to our north. So I do want to go ahead and take a look at this other forecast area where we do have another sign of stronger storms. It's going to be mostly on that southern side of this tornado warning. This is Damascus, Douglasville area, which is in our area, and that's going to be where we're going to find our next set of a tornado warned area. Along that line of storms, there is enough rotation where we've seen some of those areas, I would assume next to Korea. Those storms are going to continue pushing through this morning, Macedonia as well. So if you look along this line, nothing pops out along the line right here except for maybe just to the north of Korea. There's some higher winds here, a little bit of rotation starting to try to pop up just to the east of Colquitt as that heads to Cooktown, Mimsville, Lamar, Bellsview, all those areas, no matter what. Again, wind is going to be a big factor in your forecast. Taking a look at some of those winds that you will be experiencing in the next few years, or what Bellevue is experiencing now, I mean, 50, 60 mile per hour gusts along that leading edge of those storms. Looking at radar, here's that leading edge of some of those storms right there. Some heavier showers and storms at Boykin moving to the northeast. And you see those darker purples and pinks there? Good indicator of hail. And even if we kind of look at some of our storm threats here, we can see that hail quite possibly right there along that leading edge. And then we have some red. Those are rotations, those areas of concern for rotation all the way from Boykin. And I assume that's a little bit delayed. It's more probably toward Babcock or even closer to Bellevue. So exiting out of that, there we go. There's those areas of concern for possible rotation all along this line, which is why that tornado warning is still being issued there. Zooming back out, again, kind of seeing this last storm move out of our area. Still thinking about our neighbors to the north, and it is a confirmed tornado on the ground. Colquitt is still going to see some heavy wind and rain. You're kind of on the western side of that line now. That line is still pushing closer to Bainbridge now. Chattahoochee, Quincy. Let's check in and down here on the southern edge. Okay, Weewit-Hitchcock still. And then let's see if this has jumped over. Owl Landing, Gun Landing. Okay, and so 63, Cleo, all those areas are still a ways away from that rotation, but still need to keep in mind that there is an area of rotation along that line still to the south that could be leading into our area. So let me zoom back out here and just show you, we'll recap what's going on. A couple of areas of concern with rotation. Just to our north, a confirmed tornado on the ground is now moving out of our area. But again, that is a confirmed tornado. We were just watching it as it pushed through our area. Now a debris ball pushing out of our area, meaning debris is being lofted in the air. These tornadoes can be a little stronger today. Our atmosphere has shown that there is capability of that potential rotation, and we've seen it all morning long as that storm is pushed across the panhandle. I mean, places like Mariana getting hit 2-3 times by tornado warnings, at least one confirmed on the ground. Damage ahead of the storm, even with just the wind ahead of the storm as well. So, I mean, even with these severe thunderstorm warnings, take those just as seriously as tornado warnings because some of that wind has been gusting up to 60, 70 miles per hour just as that leading edge moves in. And then, of course, higher within some of those storms. So some of that wind can be just as damaging as some tornadoes. I take these severe thunderstorm warnings just as seriously, especially today when our atmosphere just has enough energy to fuel some of these stronger storms over a long period of time. And you can see there that line now just pushing across Bainbridge. Actually, Riley, if you can do me a favor, if you can pull up the Bainbridge cam, or I know Colquitt has been out. It was out when we had our last tornado warning go through earlier this morning. But if you can do me a favor and pull up Bainbridge cam, we can see what's going on in Bainbridge and see where that line of storms is moving through. This is Colquitt. It actually went out at 8:09 this morning. When that first tornado warning went through, we were capturing gusts, around 60 miles per hour at that point. So this is an old shot of Colquitt. But if you look at Bainbridge, there we go. So Bainbridge, shaking there. A couple of trees in the background just absolutely going crazy. We were seeing gusts around 50, 60 miles per hour earlier this morning. That line approaching just a couple miles off to your west. So obviously high wind, a big factor here. Good to see no one's out and about right now, taking it easy at home, hopefully watching from a safe place if you are in Bainbridge. Even though we don't have any kind of warnings as far as tornadic activity goes for you, keep in mind there are still potentials for those tightening of rotations along that line, which you still mostly see to our north right now. So severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect for Bainbridge, where gusts, you can see shaking the camera there, up to 65, 70 miles per hour within that line of storms. And we can go back to that line of storms now. Riley, thank you so much for helping out. He's doing all the digital content for today as well, so very busy over there. Here's that last area of concern for our area, at least, that Colquitt tornado warning that's still ongoing. So let me click out here. There we go. So as we look at Colquitt here, kind of zooming in, seeing what the latest is going on in this line. Here's Colquitt, Bellevue, Babcock, Cooktown, just to the northeast of this. We find that line just here, but let's see where we can find that rotation that's ongoing, or at least a trouble spot. So here's that line of storms, the trouble spots, possibly along that frontal line. Right now, we're just going to be watching that as it moves out of that tornado warned area. Until that expires, obviously, we'll be on air. But keep in mind, these tornado warnings are going to be popping up all day. And that's not to say that it's going to be active for your specific neighborhood with a tornado warning, but we do have widespread wind in that forecast. So just keep an eye on that leading edge of that storm. You can see the wind differential there that's going to be away and then towards. So that line is connecting. Spin is also possible along that line. And we just had tornado warnings, almost all down that line. So we'll keep an eye on that as that southern tip starts moving into our area. This is the more northernmost tip of that storm system. Now I'll zoom out here so you can at least see the boundary line of that wind. You can see exactly where that front is, kind of draped right across our area all the way down to Chattahoochee. So that's that western side. The northernmost side and the easternmost side kind of pushing into Decatur County right now. High winds, look at that, even right here. That's an area that's pretty interesting for us as that moves closer to Decatur County. That's Bethany and Hanover and then Bainbridge eventually. Even taking a look at some of those wind gusts, let's see, 50, 60 miles per hour. Of course, every time I do it, of course, it moves to the east a little bit. It is moving very quickly, about 55 miles per hour to the northeast. But yeah, some heavy wind absolutely possible with some of these storms as they move through. Now moving up to the northeast, still watching just kind of line as it pushes out that very eastern sector of that tornado warned area. We don't go off air until that tornado warned area is complete, at least throughout all of our area. This is one of two we're watching. The northernmost one is out of our area, but again, that is a confirmed tornado. We saw a debris signature now moving through Morgan and Aycock Mill and Clarks Mill, Holt, Leary. So if you have any friends or family, kind of that Early County and eastern side of Early County counties, please give them a call, let them know to take cover now. That storm system is moving through their area. Our area still has a bit of ways to go for that line to pass through, but right now, places like Decatur County, that tri-state area, the first to see that warning, and the last will be some of those areas across places like 75. But that line extends all the way down to Hosford. That's Liberty County for you, Clio, Central City, Twin Pole, Morgan Place, and all the way down to Creels and High Bluff. So this is a large system producing high wind over a very large area. Now, of course, those severe thunderstorm warnings are already being extended well ahead of this line. Places like Leon County completely under that severe thunderstorm warning, Decatur County all the way out into Thomas County as well, parts of Grady County. And then, of course, we still are watching this area right around Colquitt as that line starts to exit that tornado warned area. We're waiting until that is going to expire before we get off air, before we are watching our next tornadic activity. But
Elizabeth, they're watching for rotation just to the southwest of Bainbridge.
southwest of Bainbridge. Okay,
Not a tornado warning yet, but it's possible that one may be issued.
Okay, thank you, Riley. So no warnings yet, but southwest of Bainbridge, I bet it's right down here along this line. I can see it even on radar. Let's see. Be closer to then Bethany, that 253. Is that correct? Okay, so yep, there it is. So 253, not a warned area yet, but Smith's Landing, Bethany. I do want to stay on air for this because obviously Bainbridge is a huge area. You can see that just that latest update. Look at that, a little tight couplet there. Thank you, Riley, for watching the chat for me. I appreciate that. So yeah, so this is Bainbridge right here. No tornado warning yet, but Smith's Landing, Bethany, 253, 27, Hanover, all these areas under what looks to be a tightening couplet. So we're going to keep a close eye on that for you. Actually, we'll go ahead and stay on air.
Now tornado warning for Decatur County.
Okay, so now it has turned into a tornado warned area. So please take cover immediately if you live in Hanover, Bainbridge, Mount Pleasant, all these areas, obviously high impact areas. And you can see there's that tornado warning. It does include Mount Pleasant, Bainbridge, Osmatic, Hanover, and Smith's Landing is where that is now. And look at that. Even with the latest update, you can see that couplet really tightening. Those bright greens, those bright reds, that's where we're seeing that area of rotation as indicated on radar. Please take cover now if you live in Decatur County, anywhere in these areas in red, including Mount Pleasant, Bainbridge, Hanover, Osmac. This area of concern is right here. It's pretty easy to spot when you have that tight of a rotation. I'm going to go ahead and go over some roads for you as the system moves to the northeast because it's really important to please take cover now. This is a tight area of rotation. So Dothan Road, Bethel Road, 27, obviously a major thoroughfare. Dothan Road, that's 84. All those areas are going to be areas where the storm is jumping over. Lynn Manhole Road, Newton Road. If you head up to Pine Hill Road, Newton Road, again, crossing over into River Road, all these areas are in the path of this storm. Please take cover now, not to mention, obviously, downtown Bainbridge, East College Street, that Tallahassee Highway, obviously a big one. That's going to be 27 that runs down south. Rich Road, John Sam Road, you're almost in the immediate path of this storm as this road kind of takes a turn to the south there. So if you are in these areas, please take cover now. This is a fast-moving storm, and let's go ahead and zoom in even further, especially right here near 84 in Hanover. So Ruth Road, John Sam Road, Lynn Justice, Bethel, Dothan, 27. All these areas, it looks like highly populated, lots of neighborhoods around here. If you have friends in the area and you recognize any of these street names, please give them a call because this is where this storm is tracking over the next several minutes. This is out ahead of the storm. You have time very quickly and responsibly to go ahead and head into an interior room of your house. Interior walls mean that it doesn't connect to the outside, no windows, preferably as low as you can, and grab the helmets. I know it's silly, I say it every time, but it is important to keep yourself safe during these storms because not only do we have now a couplet forming, which is a radar indicated tornado, but also we have, high winds associated with this outside of that tornado area. So here is that couplet right here. I am going to go ahead and zoom in right on this area and see if we can see. Okay, so there's no debris ball yet. That doesn't mean anything, but keep in mind we're looking for debris being picked up by this area of signature of that rotation, and that's going to be when we can see a little bit more of that debris being locked in the air. It can be seen by radar, which we can tell as this storm compresses to the northeast. But right now, you're not going to be able to see this rotation or this area rotation. It's going to be rain wrapped. Heavy rain out in front of the storm, filling into that storm, rotating up. It's not going to be able to be seen, but there is an area of high wind even outside of that system. So rain will be blowing sideways, high wind. I mean, even then you could have stuff blowing around in your yard. So make sure you take cover away from windows now before that storm arrives. It's moving fairly quickly. We just got the latest update there. Now Dothan Road, you're in the direct path of that storm. Now Bethel Road, 27, just a few minutes from you as the storm continues to move to the northeast as well. So again, this is Decatur County. I do want to zoom out just for a second, just for people who are joining us, especially, highly populated areas across 27. This is that system that's moving into Decatur County. We saw that area of rotation. It's very easy to spot here on our velocity scan. As it moves to the northeast, it's going to be splitting Lynn and Bainbridge. So those northern parts of Bainbridge, if you live just to the north of Bainbridge, that's going to be an area where you're going to have a lot of wind very quickly. And then we're looking at that tight formation of that storm. That velocity couplet is what we call it right there as it moves to the northeast, again, fairly quickly, about 55 miles per hour or more. The problem here is that every time the scan updates, I can tell you the road that it's on right now, but it's probably not on that road as that scan updates. It's about a 2-minute delay, and that's why I want to go ahead and look ahead of that storm so you can get prepared now. So if you are getting that severe thunderstorm warning or that, again, tornado warning for Decatur County, you're just tuning in, go ahead and take cover now. This area of rotation is just to the north of West Bainbridge, just to the north of Bainbridge, up 27. It will shortly be jumping over you. I expect that now it's quite close to Lynn, heading up just to the north of 253 as well. That's a state road there, and kind of moving in, that's Newton, Manhole, Pondtown Road, Pine Hill Road, and Riverdale Road. All those areas in the path of the storm. Getting closer, again, I can say Dothan Road, Bethel Road, but hopefully you've already taken cover there because there's a good chance that storm has already moved over you, if not moving over you right this second. So pushing up to the northeast, just kind of preparing you for on 253, Newton Road, Pine Hill, Manhole, Newton, and again, this is West Bainbridge. Keep that in mind. Here's the latest scan here. It's now very close to 27, probably moving over 27 now. Getting a little bit of a closer look here to the north. This is Pondtown Road and Whites Road. That's right to the northeast of that storm. 27, it runs right here. Area of rotation of concern right here, passing over Bethel Road and 27 right now. So if you are up just to the northeast of that, make sure, or if you know someone, call them now. Get under the blanket, the mattress, whatever you need to get you safe and stay safe as the storm passes. So moving back out here, just kind of taking a broader look over this, safely getting to your spot. You can still see a pretty good couplet here. Those greens and those reds, those very bright greens, those very bright reds right there. It's a good sign of rotation within the storm. So if we kind of look at, we do have a bit of a debris ball there starting to pop up right over Hanover right before 27. I'd be interested to see, does the National Weather Service have anything about this yet, Riley?
Just checking now for you.
It does look like that debris, that signature debris does, the latest scan has subsided. So that would be good news, but checking for those lighter coefficient correlations. I know Riley's doing both digital, and he's doing a great job. Sorry, Riley. I'm pushing him.
There's no indication of a debris ball
according
to the National Weather Service right now, but I'll continue to watch that for you.
Okay, thank you, Riley. Yeah, and that latest scan, it does show, luckily, that those lighter returns is what we're concerned about. What happens with coefficient correlation, I'll just explain it quickly before we go back, is we are looking at things in the air like shapes of hail or rain or things like that. When you get these bigger pieces of siding or housing or branches, they come up in our signatures there, our coefficient correlation, as a lighter return, as a lower return. And that's what we look for in the shape of a ball to know if there's debris falling around or not. Luckily, we saw it for just a second there. Luckily, I don't see it anymore as that latest scan has just moved the system right over 27. So just to the east of Hanover, this is where we're looking, right at 27. That's that area of rotation. It still looks decently tight. It's still pushing past 27 now. It looks a little tighter around Hanover when we did see that piece of debris there. But as it's moving up, we're still going to look over, jumping over 253, West Bainbridge, Mount Pleasant, and as it heads to the north, it's really Veda. So a lot of Decatur County still under this warning. West Bainbridge, you're definitely feeling the wind right now. Bainbridge as well. That area of rotation just to the north of you, jumping over 27 at the moment and pushing to the north to the east. So again, some of those roads, if you're just joining us, that's going to be Newton Road, Manhole Road, Pondtown Road, Pine Hill Road, moving quickly, as we can see by the latest scan there, pushing up to the northeast through this tornado-warned area in Decatur County, all the way up through Newton Road. That kind of follows the path of the storm as it moves to the northeast. So if you live really anywhere, even to the northeast of West Bainbridge up Newton Road, you're in the path of the storm as well. So getting even a closer look kind of at ground level here, we still have Manhole Road as well. There's that Pine Hill Road, I mean, only a couple miles away. These are areas that need to take shelter now, by the way. This storm does move and the scans do update, but there's a good chance that this storm is probably already here by now. Every update, we're going to see it jump even further. There is a little bit of rotation here and here, which is kind of interesting, watching those two spots as it moves to the north of West Bainbridge over 253 as well, moving to the east at a fairly good pace there. Let's look at radar, though, really quick. These are those two areas. Hearing some thunder now in Tallahassee, but looking at these two areas right now, you can see it's both of those are rain wrap. Both of those little areas that we're looking at are rain wrap. So you're not going to be able to see any rotation. That's why we tell you to take shelter. We don't need your confirmation. I promise we can do it. There are plenty of ways to look for tornadic activity on radar and safely, while you stay in your home and stay in that interior room and make sure that you and your family are safe. So as that storm pushes through, I mean, there is heavy rain across Lynn, Osmac, El Dorado, and there's going to be a lot more of that heavy rain pushing with that line of storms that's continuing to progress through. Not only that, but it's windy as well, so it's probably pretty loud outside. I know it's kind of scary, but we're keeping a close eye on the storm for you as it pushes through Bainbridge, West Bainbridge, all in the clear of that tornadic activity, which just stays to our north. But again, this is heavy rain, even some hail I would expect possible. You can see these returns that are much higher. That's either very, very heavy rain or some hail moving through. And if we kind of look at our storm threats here, I bet you that we see some of that hail. This is a later return, but a little bit delayed at least, but these purples here are a good indicator of some hail that is associated with this storm that has that spin. So going back to our relative velocity there, it does look like there's a couple little areas that are kind of popping up that are of concern, but the one that I'm looking at right here is going to be right here across Newton Road. Again, still hugging Newton Road as it moves to the north. So along this line, we're still going to find that, we're still going to find that there are areas of rotation that are possible, and even a couple of trouble spots even within this area that's heading toward the north and east, kind of just west of Mount Pleasant, heading just to your northeast around East River Road, and then of course Newton Road in just a minute here. So I mean, there is a lot of activity ongoing with this storm. We knew that there could be possible areas of rotation. I mean, look at that, even north and west, or north and east of West Bainbridge, there's some rotation possible there. Looks like something's trying to happen just to the north of that. All of this within that tornado warned area. So hopefully you are undercover now and making sure that you're undercover as the system continues to approach. It looks like that was just extended as we head into Veda, Harrell's still, and progressing to the east. You can kind of see the line here looks decently straight, and then you start to get some of these crevices, these dips, and then that's a good indicator that that air is trying to rotate, and that's where the concerning spots are. There's a couple of them right now that I can see within that area. So here is the first one, the second one, just to the north and now to the east of Bainbridge. Bainbridge, you're still getting the tail end of some of that rain, and that line is just moving through you, so I can guarantee there's some high wind there. But our area of concern is now closer to Mount Pleasant and Veda. So Mount Pleasant, both of you on 253 probably already gotten that wind, that rotation possibly moving over you now. And as we head a little bit closer into some of those streets, let's see what we have here. This is Parker Courthouse, Mount Pleasant, Deese Road, Martin Road, Carl Brock Road, Eddie Avery Road, Boutwell Road, and then Pelham Road as well. All those areas, Dean Road, East River Road, please take cover now. Those two area of trouble spots are moving across your area in just a few minutes. So here is that line of storms. You just kind of see it's just going back and forth, a couple little trouble spots there just to the southwest of Mount Pleasant and to the west. We'll be watching those as those track to the northeast. Again, we're going to stay on air until these tornado warnings expire. We won't leave you hanging, I promise. We'll keep you up to date all day long. I know it's probably pretty loud right now in Mount Pleasant, especially with the wind, the rain. But again, just looking at some trouble spots right now, just to your west, moving to the northeast. That includes Veda, and then just to the northeast of, there's Bainbridge right there. So let's go ahead and take, while those last scans come in, let's go ahead and take a look at that line of storms. So no matter what, it's going to be windy. There is that very distinct line of storms that is the wind is pushing into the line is occurring, and then you're going to find that it's going to calm down a little bit behind that line, but ahead of the line, high winds in the forecast. Looking at radar here, there's that radar, that line of storms now moving through Quincy. That's why we can hear in Midway some of those rumbles of thunder. Just to kind of give an idea, I've had this off all morning, but here is the lightning strikes. There's a lot of lightning involved in this, so that's another reason you don't want to go outside looking for the severe weather. There's a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. We're already hearing some thunder here in Midway as that storm progresses to the east. A couple of lightning strikes even ahead of that storm. So an active day, needless to say, as this line of storms continues to push through. And keep in mind, look at these severe thunderstorm warnings. They are well ahead of the line. That's a good time to go ahead and prepare now. So Tallahassee, even into Monticello, to Jefferson County, if you're under that warning, you can prepare now for what's to come. So there is good high confidence that that storm is still going to produce that high wind all the way through those areas, which is why they're so pushed out. But also, it gives you time to prepare, which is really nice, especially for this line of storms. We know it's coming. It's not going to surprise you. It's going to push through. And hopefully you have everything you need to be prepared, which includes a safe place to go, an interior wall, and you have everything, from the outdoors, indoors, so it doesn't fly around and hurt your neighbors or hurt their house. So really important to go ahead and get prepared now. But places along that line, it's too late to go outside and get the lawn furniture. Just make sure you have a safe place to go when this storm continues to progress forward. So I'm going to take the lightning off since it's a little distracting, especially when we're talking about these tornado warnings. But there is quite a bit of lightning. You're probably hearing the thunder, the wind howl as you start to get in your safe spot now. Again, this is Decatur County. You can see the outline of Decatur County here. As we zoom in just a bit here, this is what we have. We have an area of very windy conditions, heavy rain, and then a couple of problem spots along this line. Kind of right here, there's a little problem spot that we're watching as well, as that just moves just to the north of Mount Pleasant. These roads right along that line are going to be experiencing high wind either way, whether there's tornadic activity or not. It's going to be a high wind day with tornadic possibilities along that line. You can kind of see there a few areas of concern. The good news is that a lot of this is broadened up, especially compared to what we were looking for as it moved over 27. Earlier, as it was moving across Hanover, that was really the concerning area where that couplet was very, very tight. But as it's moved up 27, likely become broader. So not a time to relax, especially for Veda and Harrell Still and Pawnee. All those areas are still going to get, no matter what, the wind. Again, it can be just as damaging as that tornadic activity. But we'll be watching this as it continues to shift out of Decatur County and closer to the northeast. Over the next couple of minutes up to Camilla, those areas are going to be experiencing some high wind anyway. That line is still continuing to push to the east for you as well. Adelaide, Branchville, Hopeful, all those areas experiencing wind right now. Probably hearing the thunder, the rain clashing down, but that area of concern is still ongoing for Mount Pleasant just to the north. And with this latest scan, I do want to check out this little spot right here. So there are some little areas that, they look like they could go either way with these next scans, but keeping a close eye on this one here, Carl Brock Road to the west.
Yes, somewhere to look out for is southern Decatur. It looks like near Fowlestown. Not under a warning yet, but it could be some rotation.
I don't know if you guys heard that. I was lighting. Would you say Owlstown, Decatur?
All right. Tornado warning now here. We're going to try to turn those off. Not yet. All right. Okay,
so you hear our warnings going off here. That would be a tornado warning for?
Yeah, it's for Wakulla,
Gadsden,
Central Liberty County, and southwestern Leon County.
Here we go. That's why our alarms were all going off in here, because we have our latest. Okay, so there's this tornado warning right here. I can see it just from the latest scan. So that was Decatur County. We have a few spots that we need to monitor there, especially you said southwest Decatur County. We'll come back to that. This is the latest warning. Here, just to the southwest of Bloxham. So here's Bloxham, here's Hosford, there's 20 that runs across there. Let me get rid of this. There we go. So there's Hosford, there's Ward. As this system moves in, you can see that tight rotation there. That's a pretty good couplet that we're watching. Smith Creek Road, you're in the direct path of this. Again, this is heading into parts of Gadsden County. I believe this is in Liberty County now. Here is Gadsden County as it crosses over, kind of right there on the edge of those 3 counties. So keeping a close eye on that as it moves to the north of Ward right this second. So let me go ahead and click off of this for you. There we go. So moving in, here's Bloxham, Ebenezer. 20, obviously a big threat for that wind right now as it continues to blow, but this area of rotation is really tight right there around Ward. Where's the radar?
It should be in Midway around 10:40 a.m.
Okay, so 20 minutes it should be here in Midway. We'll be watching that as it tracks closer to Gadsden County. If we have to take shelter, we will keep you on the air. I promise we'll keep a radar up, but right now, our area of concern is right there near Ward. So if you live anywhere closer to the northeast side of that, that's Bloxham. It's on your way, I-20, heading to the northeast, Fort Braden, Ebenezer, all areas that you need to take shelter now ahead of this storm. This is not something you're going to want to wait on. Again, just like all the other tornado warnings we've had, it starts out very tight, and that's going to be a tight couplet that we're going to be watching over the next several minutes here. Let's go back to coefficient correlation. Okay, so we're not seeing anything too wild with any kind of debris balls. That's good news, but this couplet is still very tight right there. There's Ward in the northeast corner. So, I mean, moving into some of these roads, Smith Creek Road, really the only major roadway that's going to be running through that area. Northeast Road 20, 20 is going to be one of those major roadways as well. If you have people to the north of that, this is what we're going to be looking at. Bloxham, especially Bloxham Cutoff, Bluntstown Highway, Lakeview Point, all those areas, Fort Braden. Go ahead and make sure that you are aware of your safe spot now and have that safe spot in mind as the storm progresses to the northeast. So as we look at our velocity scan here, this is Lake Point view, radar. We're going to go back here and move out just a bit, just to give you an idea of where we're at and get a reset with all of these storms that are ongoing. So right now, here's the line of storms. This is the latest tornado warned area. This is going to be for parts of, right now, Liberty County, moving into Gadsden County and parts of Leon County. Here is I-10, that big split here. But down to the southwest, this is where that area of concern is. Right there is still well to the south of I-10, but the concern is going to be that the storm is moving quickly. 55, 60 mile per hour speed of the storm, and obviously higher wind gusts with that. So what we're going to be watching for is that tight couplet, which we can see right here, kind of moving over an area that may be a little bit more heavily populated with trees, more so than people, but heading up to the northeast, there's going to be a little bit more of that dense population, something that we're going to be watching out for. The latest return does show a little bit of that couplet kind of breaking apart. So we'll keep watching this, though, as it moves to the northeast. This is Bloxham, Fort Braden. And again, if we move out here, just want to kind of give you an idea of where it's going. Because again, these are delayed returns. So every time I say, here it is, it's probably a little bit further to the northeast than that. So giving you ample time to prepare. Places like Midway, Fort Braden, Bloxham, Ebenezer, 90 and 10, both areas that you need to take shelter now. That does obviously go into a little bit of Leon County. Here's our radar here just southwest of the airport. Those paths mostly taken to the northeast. So we're more concerned with these areas around I-10, Fort Braden, the 20 Bloxham line as this continues right up the middle of this tornado warned area. That doesn't mean the storm can't change though. That's why it's so wide. It's not a narrow strip of red. It's a wide strip of red. So this storm could, move either way just by a mile or two, which obviously affects more people than not. So what we're going to be watching is this little area of rotation right here as it moves up into Bloxham. So I'm going to leave that for just a second, only because it's moving over an area of forest, and until it gets to closer to Bloxham, I'm going to go up to this other tornado warning that we're still tracking, which is just to our north in Decatur County. So here's that line. I just want to kind of show you what's going on here in a longer view. So we have 2 tornado warnings in our area, one for Decatur County, and then one right now for parts of Liberty into Gadsden and Leon County. So let's go back up to this Bainbridge, Decatur County line of storms that's now pushing through Bainbridge at least. Let's go back to radar, show you what's going on. Here's a line of storms. And that line of storms is going to continue pushing through, creating problems for our area throughout the morning, whether it be wind or tornadic activity. It's going to be a busy day. So moving in, resetting, going back to this Decatur County storm. most of that heavy rain is now out of your area, northeast Bainbridge, so that is good news for you. It's still raining outside, but the heavy rain is mostly to the northeast. Now, as we take a closer look at some of these areas, especially to the northeast, I mean, we still have places like Mount Pleasant, probably getting some rain, even some hail mixing in. I wouldn't be surprised there. Please don't go outside and look. Take shelter. Make sure you're in shelter until that storm passes. Parker Courthouse, Veda, and Pawnee, all those areas are seeing that heavy rain now and some very gusty wind. If we look at areas of concern, it looks like there is an area of concern closer to climax. Outside of that, I would assume that's what they were talking about. National Weather Service, was talking about, and which was eventually in that southwest side of the county. But along that line, I mean, there are some tricky spots here that we're going to be watching over the next couple of hours. So here is that line of storms that's producing some tricky spots for us, even just to the east of Mount Pleasant. There's Veda. Now, just because you're not in that warned area doesn't mean a tornado can't happen for you. So we'll be watching that, especially near climax. I keep my eye on that one over the next couple of minutes on 84 as it jumps over 84, close to Wingham and places like Providence. So keeping a close eye on that. Now that storm is going to continue pushing to the northeast, it looks like a bit of bowing is happening. So I at least expect, climax, you get a lot of wind in your forecast, hugging that 84 corridor, if not just north. So keeping a close eye on that for a couple of those trouble spots. We'll be looking out for those over the next couple of scans. But now we're going to go back out to the other tornado warning that we have in our forecasted area, which is going to be this one that's moving into Gadsden County here in just a couple of seconds. That's going to be, here's that southwest side of Gadsden County, Liberty County right here. So we still, it looks like it's much tighter now. So we have a much tighter area of rotation right there on Smiths Creek Road. And like I said, I don't like to name what's on top of that circulation because it's probably already ahead of that. It's moving very quickly. That area of rotation is going to be over Bloxham Cutoff, Blountstown Highway. That's Lake Point View. That's the Lake Point area, Braden, Fort Braden as well, up 20. And then eventually moving into the northeast further, it's closer to that I-10 corridor, further into Gadsden County. So right now we still have roads like Blountstown Highway, that includes Holland, Fort Braden, kind of just riding this line for us early this morning. Star Hill Road, Lake Point View, please be prepared for some incoming wind as well, if not some rotation for you. But here's that rotation right there. That's a pretty tight couplet just to the southwest of Bloxham, heading up Bloxham Cutoff right now to the northeast. Some of those major areas that we should keep a close eye on as far as streets go, again, Bloxham Highway, Bloxham Cutoff. We really need to keep a close eye on places. Of course, my clicker's up. There we go. Of course, Gallup, Ed Gordon Drive, Nickelwood Drive, Elkhorn Road, Cotton Patch Road, all those areas look like we could have some of those houses back in those areas as you're heading closer to places like Bloxham. You're finding those roads get a little bit less diverse, a little bit less populated, I should say, a little less populated as you head closer to that area rotation. That doesn't mean that area rotation is going to stay there. It's going to start moving into these highly populated areas over the next couple of minutes because, again, the storm is moving quickly. So keep that in mind. That system looks like it's still going to be pushing across places like Bloxham over the next couple of minutes and up to the northeast, Jackson's Bluff just to the west of that. But again, still take cover now. What we're going to find here is good news is there's not a lot of return as far as that area of rotation goes for any kind of coefficient correlation. So whatever is happening now, we're still seeing that rotation continue to tighten up right there. That's what we're going to be watching over the next couple of minutes. That is going to be a rain ramp. There's a lot of rain around it, especially just to the east and to the north. So that area of rotation, again, right here, to the north and to the east, we'll probably have some hail associated with that and some heavy rain. So not the time to go out and look for it now. So those areas just to the northeast of that, still experiencing rain as that moves forward. Latest scan here shows a very tight couplet just to, again, Bloxham Cutoff, probably passing over you right now and moving to the northeast. Places that are a little bit closer to Lake Point View is Blountstown Highway. That's Whisperwill Drive. As we move further, Larklin Court east. Any of those areas that you see on your screen here, Luther Hall Road, if you live on those or have friends that live on those, hopefully they have a notice or you are able to get in touch with them and let them know to take shelter now. This storm is heading their way. So some of the storms...
even without the tornado threat, winds up to 70 miles per hour.
Okay, along that storm. Okay, so Riley just told me even without, like I said, these tornado warnings obviously are very important, but even without those tornado warned areas, these wind gusts out in front in these severe storm warned areas, 70 miles per hour. So that is a very significant amount of wind associated along this line of storms that again now extends all the way from, it is now in parts of Franklin County, Apalachicola, all the way up through Bainbridge, all the way up through Camilla and out of our area in Albany. All those areas are going to be possibly hitting those wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour, and that's outside of these tornado warned areas. So these storms are potentially producing quite a bit of wind, even outside of the storms. There could still be high wind as well. Tallahassee, you're probably feeling that wind now, as well as Thomasville, Moultrie, even miles away from the leading edge of this storm. So again, there's just that concern for Decatur County. It looks like the last little bit of that storm is moving to the northeast. Keeping a close eye on some of those touchy spots. But my main concern here is going to be for this area of rotation right here across. This is going to be moving into, into parts of the I-10 corridor, and just in a minute here from Liberty County all the way into Gadsden County. So kind of taking the last little look here, that's a very tight couplet. You can barely even see it while you're out there. That's a very tight couplet of Bloxham. That's Bluntstown Highway. The area of concern there is really going to continue to grow as it moves to the northeast. More of that populated area to the northeast of that includes Fort Braden, Viewpoint, Lake Viewpoint Road, and then Ebenezer. Please take cover now as well. And then, of course, eventually Midway and the I-10 corridor. But it has a long way to go to get to those areas to hold on. But still, if you are preparing yourself now, I would say go ahead and take cover now, because the storm is moving to the northeast very quickly. And that's why all morning long, I'm not naming where the storm is, I'm naming where it's going to go, because just like that, those scans update, the storm jumps a few miles, and it does no purpose or no good to tell you where it is now, it's to tell you where it's going. So as we head to the northeast, here's Fort Braden, Bluntstown Highway. Let's take a closer look at some of those roads again that we need to go ahead and prepare and get in cover now. That's Star Hill Road, that's Fort Braden, there's Holland as well.
An update to the tornado warning, Liz, Central Wakulla County, Liberty County, and Franklin County.
Okay, so there's now another tornado warning. Let's go ahead and zoom out here. But again, keep in mind, the 20 corridor, make sure you're taking cover. That's a tight little couplet right there. Okay, here is our next tornado warning. Here's Wakulla. There's St. Mark's. Sorry, I have to get myself oriented just like you after going up and down these storms all day. Okay, so let's go back to radar, show you what's going on. Here's another severe thunderstorm warning. Here is parts of Franklin County. Here's Liberty County, and it's along this line that's now moving into parts of, again, northern Franklin County, Wakulla County. Let's go ahead and take a look at this storm. So I can already kind of see where that area of concern might be. That's right around just to the east of Morgan Place. We can see that a little bit of that rotation is already starting to occur there. And that Morgan Place area, there's a couple of areas of concern really, but as it heads to the northeast, we're going to find that eventually Sop Choppy, Oak Park, Curtis Mill, McTeary, and Medart, all those areas going to be under a tornado warning, or are under tornado warning now. So under that area of rotation, a couple of areas of rotation that are concerning there, and high wind along this line just to the west of Sanborn. So we're going to take a look at some of those returns. So 25, 45 miles per hour, but even higher out ahead of that storm that we've been seeing throughout the morning, where Riley just said, we're getting reports of 70 mile per hour gusts outside of tornado warned areas just along that line. So here is our latest warning. Let's go ahead and zoom out for you, because there's a lot going on very quickly. I just want to make sure that everyone gets to see their neighborhood and where that concern is. So this is the latest warning. This is Wakulla County, kind of giving you an idea, and just kind of zooming out, kind of reorienting you where we're looking. Here's that line of storms. It stretches all the way from Albany, just to our north, all the way just to the west of Carabel, and then Apalachicola. So all the way from our westernmost counties through almost Tallahassee now. What we're looking at are 3 different tornado warned areas This warning doesn't have too much of that activity in it. It's mostly to the east, so still going to watch this area, obviously, just to the east of Thomas County now for any kind of rotation, but the ongoing rotation and concerns really include parts of Liberty County and to Gadsden County. That's that Midway I-10 corridor we've been talking about all morning. And then now, as the latest, that's going to be Wakulla County and parts of Leon County and Liberty County, just moving out of Liberty County and kind of holding that line into Franklin County and eventually into Wakulla County. So here's what's going on. Here's the broad view of it. I'm going to leave you with this for just a second. I'm going to grab a sip of water, but I'm going to go over both of those tornado warnings for you in just a second. Okay, so here, sorry about that. So here's what we're going to look at over the next couple of hours. This line of storms is still pushing through. Like Riley said, resetting 70-mile-per-hour gusts ahead of those storms are possible. That's going to be where we're going to find problems, widespread wind damage, right? Because 70 miles per hour is just as dangerous as a weak tornado. So straight line winds, tornadic activity, please take them both seriously. That's where we're going to find more of that activity through the next couple of hours. Now, what we're going to also see are probably going to be some more tornado warnings as this line progresses east. More of that spin-up activity is going to be possible. So I'm going to have Riley, can you on WSI 2 pull up some cameras for me on 2? So I'll go over this and I'll talk to you, Dennis, our director, just when we want to flip over, if that's okay. But I want to go ahead and overview this line. I just wanted to let Riley know he's been doing digital and cams for us, just along this line. But what we have now is a severe thunderstorm warnings that pretty much all ahead of this line, right? So that's had 70-mile-per-hour gust potential, where yes, straight line winds are going to be damaging in themselves. Now we're also looking at the tornadic potential. Tornado concerns right here. That's hugging the Liberty County, Franklin County line, moving into Wakulla County. That's going to be the southernmost concern as far as tornadic activity goes. Now, Carabel, even though you're outside of that, if you can switch over to WSI 1, Dennis, I'm going to have him pull up. Thank you. I'll let you know. But and can we get those full screen cameras and maybe like Wakulla? Thank you so much, really.
Wakulla County now we have that camera.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so actually, so here's where Wakulla County, moving into Wakulla County at least. There's that line of storms. Again, very high wind, a couple of trouble spots as far as tornadoes go. Now, sorry, Dennis, let's go ahead and look at 2. This is a shot out of Wakulla County here. Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. Here's a shot there, an ominous scene in the background, a lot of cloud cover, those dark clouds moving very quickly. You can see the flag in the background there flying. High winds even and outside of these tornado warned areas. So that's why we're taking these tornado warned areas just as seriously as any kind of straight line wind, which is severe thunderstorm warnings. Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate that. So this is a tornado warned area where that line of storms is moving into Wakulla County in just a bit here. There's Live Oak, St. Mark's, Bethel, Sop-Choppy, Curtis Mill, that line of storms right on the brink of you. So already feeling the wind, as we saw out of the camera, right? We're already seeing that high wind and some problem spots as far as rotation goes. So we can see that there is high wind right there just south of Smith's Creek, but a couple of trouble spots along that line continue to show a little bit of rotation. The latest one just to the southwest of Sanborn. We're going to keep a close eye on that one for you. And a little bit of rotation out here just west of Curtis Mill. Luckily, a lot of this rotation happening over, again, highly forested area, not necessarily populated. The problem is these storms are going to move through populated areas at some point today. They're all progressing east throughout the day, and it's a line of storms. So that's why we're going to keep a close eye on this one for you. And I do want to go back to this Gadsden County. Here we go. Here's Gadsden County for us and see where that latest area of spin is. So it looks like there is some broad area of spin. Here's Midway, just to the southeast of us in Midway, which is here. There is going to be a little bit of spin here. This is I-10, so now progressing into some populated areas. So I do want to stay on this just for a bit here. It doesn't look like there's any kind of tight couplet, which is good, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. So what we're looking at here is some areas that are trying to spin up. It's not a very tight couplet. It is still an area that could potentially produce some tight spin. So we're still looking at high winds here across just to the west of Ocklawahnee. This is I-10. That's Midway. So that's Gadsden County. This is going to be parts of Leon County, kind of jumping over that line there. But hearing the rain now just pick up, so let's go ahead and see what's going on radar. Some heavy rain just off to our west. Some of that is going to be also some hail in the forecast. So kind of looking at those areas. Sorry about that. There's going to be another tornado warning for Leon County as all of our alarms go off. So hail is possible out in Midway as well. So keeping a close eye on that. And let's see what's going on with this latest concern here that just prompted all of our phones to go off again. So we do have a tornado warning. Here it is. That area of rotation just to Midway's southern edge. So here it is. There's I-10, Ocklawahnee, right in the path of that rotation. That's where we're going to be keeping a close eye on as it now is about to jump over I-10. Please don't be traveling out there over the next couple of hours until these storms pass. They're still progressing east, so places even to our east, like Lake Jackson, like Oak Knoll Estates, Zion Hill, Macon, please don't get on the road yet. I know this tornado and the spin is just off to our west, but that doesn't mean it's safe out there. Wait until the storms pass and the wind calms down and we give you the all clear, because there's still rotation just like this that can pop up. So here's Midway, here's Ocklawahnee. That area of concern is right there in the middle, jumping over I-10 here any minute, heading up toward Lake Jackson. That's 27 in the forecast area. So we're going to keep a close eye on this for you, because I know a lot of people are off school, off work today, hopefully in your homes, hopefully still have power as this storm moves to the northeast. So we still have this area of spin, again, just around Ocklawahnee. I do want to go ahead and give you some road names here. As the storm gets a little bit closer to Tallahassee, Lake Jackson, Capital Circle, obviously, that's going to be a huge impact area where a lot of people are staying at home today. Leon County schools didn't have school today. So here's Ocklawahnee. There's this area of concern, kind of broad at the moment, but still going to be looking at some of these areas along this. This is a radar site as well. This is why there's no return here. It's called the Dome of Silence. So there's no return there because you can't scan up. But as you look off to the west of that, high wind now going over the radar. High wind now up, down, and around Blenstown Highway, McCain, Ocklawahnee, West Tennessee Street, obviously a huge street there. If you take West Tennessee Street out to Midway, you know it very well. You know, as you head closer into town, there's that line of fast food restaurants and things like that. And not the time to be going out right now and trying to get any of that. Most of that wind and that rotation happening right over I-10 now, moving to the northeast. So here's Capital Circle. I do want to give you specifically these road names because the storm is moving into this area. So we have Riverwood Road. We have Capital Circle. This is northwest. So up here, that's where the Publix is. That's where the road to Havana continues, that 27 corridor. A lot of businesses, a lot of homes back in here. As we look at Rusty Drive, Tower Road, I know a main road there. Here's that Capital Circle intersection with North Monroe. There's Lake Jackson. We look over Rustic Drive and places like Bluebill Pass, Mossy Top Way, a Capital Circle to the northwest as well. Down here is going to be closer to the airport, where those high winds are definitely still possible as well. But let's zoom back out, look at where we're going to go instead of where we are. That's just going to give you a good idea of where the storm continues to track, especially Tower Road, Lake Jackson intersection, and Capital Circle. That's where we're going to be watching this storm system track over the next couple of minutes. So let's go ahead and zoom out, see where that area of rotation is. We still have a couple of areas concerned along this line as well, where we're going to find that rotation is possible over the next couple of minutes. You know, high wind out in front of that as well. As you're looking out just to the west of Bellwood Estates, that's where that high wind is occurring. There's the radar again, just southwest of the airport there, where all this is scanning from, pretty close to the radar at this point as that system moves to the north and east, 60 miles per hour or so. So still moving up across places like I-10, obviously, into these highly populated areas. I do want to look at radar here because, places like Ocklawahnee, places like Lake Jackson, places around that Capital Circle bend right there across the northwest. And getting heavy rain now. The wind is picking up probably. It's probably loud. And we're going to be seeing that rain and that wind for the next couple of minutes as that line continues to pass. Actually, let's go ahead and move out and just show you and recap where we are right now. There's a couple of different areas of concern for tornadic activity. Number one, It looks like Decatur County did expire that tornado warning, so that is good. But again, keep in mind that wind out ahead of this system up here in Ocklawahnee, in parts of Georgia, not Ocklawahnee as in Leon County, but Ocklawahnee in parts of Georgia, Moultrie, places like that are still going to experience very high wind, up to 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, which can do just as much damage as a tornado. Straight line winds are very serious and should be taken very seriously. So just as much as Coolidge and Thomasville are under a threat for severe weather, we're also looking at two areas of tornadic possibilities. One is moving through Leon County right now, and one is moving through Wakulla County right now. Now, I do see a little bit of concern as far as radar goes as this is heading into parts of Wakulla County. So I do want to check this out as well. We're going to kind of be going back and forth between these two warnings. I don't want to favor a warning over the other by any means, but we're still looking at this Wakulla County area where high winds are kind of moving around just to the northeast of Sanborn, Curtis Mill, McDeary, Pine Log, Medart, and Shadeville, all in those areas, Live Oak as well, and Panacea, of course, all in those areas of concern with that high wind. You can kind of see this area trying to rotate around. We'll keep a close eye on that, assuming that's where that area of concern is as far as places around Wakulla County go, but that's going to be our area of concern there as that high wind continues again along this line of storms through eventually St. Mark's. Let's go ahead and look at our radar for you just to show where this storm system is, just to the west of Soft Choppy. Here's St. Mark's, not quite under that tornado warning, but I say take cover now. There's going to be high wind no matter what. We're heading back up to the northeast with this system across Tallahassee. This is Leon County, that area of concern just off to our west there. Let's look at this.
We have a downtown Tallahassee camp.
Oh, okay. And so, so this is where that storm is moving. I do want to take, thank you, Riley. Dennis, if you could please take two of that downtown Tallahassee cam. This is downtown Tallahassee right now, 10:50 a.m. That line of storm is right on track with our timing we've been telling you over the last few days. Right at lunchtime, the camera is shaking. We're under a tornado warning. That warning mostly holding off closer to southwest and western side of the city over in Capitol Circle. But again, these winds are to be taken very seriously because 70-mile-per-hour winds are still going to possibly do damage as far as widespread damage for most of our area along that line. Could do more damage than even some of those tornado warnings. So both should be taken very seriously. We have high winds in downtown. Obviously, the wind is driving that rain sideways. A lot of cloud cover there. You will not be able to see any kind of tornadic activity, so please do not go outside and try to look for it. We will be watching the radar for you and let you know where that is. So right now over our radar, a lot of wind, a lot of rain, still looking at some areas of concern as far as that line continues to move through. Do you have that 4 shot of Tallahassee as well?
I was looking for it. I keep looking for it.
I think it's under 4 panel. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of areas across Tallahassee right now experiencing these same things, right? This heavy rain, this very gusty wind, and this right now an ongoing tornado warning for our area. So where we're finding most of that activity now as far as rotation goes, just some spotty areas along this line of storms. Let's go ahead and put it here for you, moving right over the radar. This is called the cone of silence. The radar doesn't scan up, so it just looks blank, but it's actually rain moving over this area right now and to Tallahassee, into the airport, or onto the airport, into parts of Capitol Circle, Bellwood Estates. Eventually, it's going to be moving northeast closer to places like Monticello, Jefferson County, and to the northeast of that as well. So what we're going to find is, St. Peter, Oak Knoll Estates, Centerville, all areas that are going to see the rain, that wind, and those storms upcoming. But right now, those storms are still pushing through places like Lake Jackson, Bellwood Estates, Zion Hill, and then downtown Tallahassee. You still have heavy rain to come. It's still going to be pushing through. Even with that downtown camera we just showed you, there's still going to be quite a bit of activity to come in the forecast. 4 Points, Lakeside, Bel Air, Lafayette, Perkins, St. Peter, and Gardner, all in the path of that storm. So please take cover now. If I just listed anywhere, you see your name anywhere on this list within this corridor of this tornado warning, it's going to be important to take cover now before that storm gets on top of you, because you'll be safe before that storm starts to move through. And it's better to be safe early than safe too late, right? So that storm continues pushing up 319 up into parts of South Georgia as it tracks to the northeast. Again, we're still watching this storm down in parts of Wakulla County as well. That line of storms in Sopchoppy, Oak Park, Mount Pleasant, Medart, and Panacea, all those areas, Live Oak as well. Please take cover now before that line of storms progresses into your area as well. So we're going to have that line of storms still pushing through. We don't see any kind of area. There are a couple of spots right there just to the east of 319 heading toward Panacea, Medart that looking a little bit more of those spots of concern, right? Because there are going to be multiple spots along this line. It's not going to be one solid, place of concern. It's going to be multiple spots of little concern across this line that we're going to be keeping a close eye on over the next several hours. The storm system is just now entering parts of central Florida, but it's still, that tail end is still going to be the last to push through places like Wakulla County, eventually Jefferson County, and then eventually Taylor County, right? So kind of the last people to see this line of storms, but just as dangerous. I mean, obviously, we still have tornado warnings for that tail end of that storm. So here's Sopchoppy, Ashmore, Mount Pleasant, Shadeville, all within those areas of concern. Please take cover now. As you head up closer to the northwest, we still have, again, places like Tallahassee, Leon County, I-10, and moving up 319. Those areas will be possible areas of concern. High wind also existing within that line of storms as well. Kind of looking, even behind that line, about 20 miles per hour. And then ahead of that line, we could see, wind gusts up to 50, 65, 75 miles per hour. 70 miles per hour. So ahead of that line, this is where all that wind is, right? So even if you don't have the activity as far as spin goes, you still have high winds, and that's just to the east of Tallahassee, just to the east of where our camera was showing you just minutes ago. So high wind is going to be the main factor for all of us. And then, of course, we're watching these spotty areas of concern as far as rotation go. Right now, our two areas of concern are, of course, in Leon County and, riding along this line, riding along that radar just southwest of the city, closer to the airport, and then moving to the northeast over the next several minutes. So again, if you're in Tallahassee, please take cover now as that storm system continues. This is Wakulla County. Again, kind of moving back and forth between the two, trying not to favor one or the other. Sopchoppy, you're going to be on the other end of that system, but there are still some areas right across those areas of Sopchoppy and Wakulla County, heading into Medart, Panacea, Tula, Wakulla Beach, Live Oak, that are all going to be concerns for more of that spotty rotation in our forecast. So let's go ahead and zoom back out. Again, we're not going to let you go until all of these warnings expire, all these tornado warnings expire. And right now, there are two of them for our area, two areas of concern that we're watching along this line. All of these areas really are going to see wind no matter what. So we're still going to experience wind.
Let's show the downtown Tallahassee camera.
Okay, so let's go ahead and look at downtown Tallahassee as that line moves in now. Wow. So that's what 70 mile per hour gusts plus and heavy rain can do. This is why you don't want to go outside looking for any kind of activity. There is some dangerous conditions in downtown Tallahassee right now. That storm line is just now moving through. You just saw it on radar. So this is what was happening. Camera shaking, 70 mile per hour gusts potentially along this line. This area is under a tornado warning. So hopefully you're watching this from inside your home and not trying to go out looking for anything, because you won't see it. You can barely even see the Capitol there. And on a cloudy day, you can still see the Capitol out of this shot. So that just goes to show you how fast this wind is driving sideways, low visibility, and those dangerous wind gusts out there for you. So I am going to go ahead and bring it back on the radar, scoot out for you. We have our chief meteorologist, Casanova Nurse, who's about to jump in here for me as we continue to track this storm kind of on the eastern side of our viewing area, Tallahassee, Albany, all the way down to Wakulla County. And I'm going to send it over to him if he's ready. You ready, Cass? All right, thank you so much. So I'll give it over to Cass now. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Liz, very good work. A lot to handle over the last several hours, and you did an amazing job. The job, however, for us tracking these severe storms is not quite over. We still have a lot of the activity that's hitting the metro area as we speak. So this is high time for here in the capital region, and we're going to focus a lot on these two separate areas. Within Tallahassee proper, as you've seen with some of the weather stem imagery, there's been a lot of wind going on, and you don't have to have something that's on the ground to create fierce winds, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So we're using our tracking modes and our various detection modes to identify where we can have the shear And right now it's very tough to identify, but there's no doubt that we've got a whole lot of wind going on across the capital city. The tornado warning is radar indicated from earlier, set to expire at 11:15. We can also have some hail falling from this. We'll go on to some of the shear markers to see if there's any kind of identifiable zone of shear. The shear rates are kind of skewed just because they're so close to the radar site, and going off of our traditional data points, a little difficult to see exactly where there may be spin, but there's definitely a zone of very strong winds across especially the northern side of Leon County, north of I-10. So I'd say the Ox Bottom, Clay Gardens area, over into the Killearn Lakes vicinity, to Killearn Estates, and this will move over towards the vicinity of, say, Crump Road, Proctor Road, that vicinity along Centerville, and Moccasin Gap, Miccosukee Road. So those are going to be some areas where you can have those more intense outflowing gusts, and some of that can maybe kind of twist around if we see the data just coming together to identify that. It's very ill-defined right now, but there is no doubt that we are having the full impacts of the heavy rain and the combination of that and gusty winds. They can be more outflowing than twisting, but it doesn't really matter in this case because they can reach some very hefty levels. And if you live in these neighborhoods or you've already had these storms coming through, you know good well that we have had some incredibly strong gusty winds, and that will continue, especially here in the northeast corner of Leon County. So Highway 319 over into the Bradfordville area, and over towards the community of Miccosukee, the neighborhood of Concord, over towards Baum and Wadesboro. Those will be some areas, especially if you're near or north of 90 and north of, say, Interstate 10, and on the northeast side of Capitol Circle, so St. Peter, Eastgate neighborhoods. Those will be some areas pushing through Benton Hills. Those are going to be some areas where you can see some improving weather on the north side, right around the Tallahassee area proper, but it's the northeastern suburbs and the northeastern corner of the county where gustier winds are likely to continue to propagate in that general direction. So those will be the main zones based on what we're seeing here that can encounter those peak wind gusts and perhaps a little bit of spin that can accompany that outflowing wind. So again, because we're not seeing a whole lot of clear circulation, if there's anything suspect, I'd say it would be right about in that Bradfordville, Bannerman area, Killearn, Lakes Plantation vicinity if there is spin. But nonetheless, there is definitely a good bit of wind force nonetheless, and that can do enough damage of its own in certain pockets of our northeast Leon County neighborhood. So definitely continue to take shelter within this region. Within Tallahassee proper, the rain is still coming down. I see the weather stem camera on my periphery, so there's still a lot of heavy rain to come out of this. We'll take a little more focus here in Wakulla County, where we have a separate tornado warning.
And that was just updated for Wakulla, Jefferson, and southeastern Leon County.
Okay. Until 11:30, earlier reconfiguration or current reconfiguration of that warning zone. But this is more focused in the southern edge of Leon County, right at the Leon-Wakulla County line. So near 267 and the interchange of Highway 319, that's where we have at least some indications of some rotation possibilities here. This will be close to the Bethel area. Gustier winds near the Wakulla Springs area, as well as around Shadeville. So that would be Shadeville Road and neighborhoods surrounding that thoroughfare. We do have the ongoing possibility of some strong wind gusts that will be pushing east of Highway 319. Strong onshore wind already been in place, so that's going to help to enhance the wind gusts here along Coastal 98. Most of that route is outside the tornado warning, but if you are along 267, blocks them cut off from Bethel over towards Wakulla Station, and then north on Woodville Highway, that would be State Road 363, of course. Those will be some zones where you can see at least enough low-level rotation to produce an enhanced gust of wind, and that can accompany a tornado. But given all the rain that's falling within this region, it's going to be very tough to see anything. So you don't necessarily have to have visual sighting to know that this is a dangerous setup. You don't have to have twisting winds to encounter dangerous and hazardous wind conditions across this region here in the central part of Wakulla County, northern sections as well, and then ongoing concerns here in northeastern side of Leon County. So those are going to be the areas where we have ongoing possibilities for spin-ups within this boundary, which is now pushing through now at 11 o'clock. For station identification purposes, you're watching WTXL TV, Tallahassee, Thomasville, Valdosta. I'm First Snow Chief Meteorologist Casanova Nurse. We are conducting live storm coverage here on the air and our digital platforms because we have active tornado warnings in the Tallahassee metro and a line of intense thunderstorms that's moving east at a pretty rapid pace. And these are creating dangerous conditions where we have strong wind gusts. We have downpours of heavy rain. I was driving through Interstate 10 on the way here, and the rain was coming down in sheets and buckets, and it was going diagonal and horizontal at times around exit 192 about 15 minutes ago. So this is nothing to play around with. I know some folks may have a little heightened concern because of the ongoing tornado warnings within Leon County, Wakulla, and eventually getting into Jefferson County. So folks who are near Lloyd, and then over towards, we'll say, the Monticello area, not officially in the warning, but this whole mass will be heading in your general direction. Also within South Georgia, southern Grady County, around the Moncrief, Beachton area, and then moving towards Metcalf. That will be a zone where we will have this activity eventually moving through within the next 15 minutes or so, and we'll have to see if there's any additional indications that we have some spin accompanying some of these areas of thunderstorm action that can maybe enhance the wind gust threat a little bit more and perhaps even drop a brief tornado. So these are active warnings, the one for northeastern Leon County in effect for about another 11 minutes, and then the one in southeastern Leon, northern and eastern Wakulla, and west central Jefferson County, that's in effect until 11:30. Treat this as a serious situation because it is. We do have strong wind gusts. Even before this line started pushing through, we had wind gusts that were exceeding 50, 60 miles per hour. And now that we have this intense line coming through and interacting with that strong inflowing wind, that's where we can get some of these little bends within this line that can support stronger twist, which can maybe cause a tornado to form. So this is one of the things we look for when we're analyzing on the fly of these severe thunderstorms. The onshore winds or the south winds kind of bump up against the line and it creates a little bit of a gap, one of which is right here just outside of Highway 319, outside the Ivan community, and then moving towards Shadeville. If I put the velocity mode on there, there's some corresponding strong inflow and a rotating backside around the Shadeville area. This is one suspect spot where there can be at least something briefly trying to twist in the lower levels and has a chance to touch down. We're not seeing that as far as confirmation yet, and there has been no upgrade to our current warnings. If we see purple flashing boxes instead of red, that would mean there was some sighting based on radar data or some on-site identification of a tornado. But right now we're not seeing any kind of confirmation of such, but we can see those individual pockets, and that's why there is a little more of that concern. With a broader line, there can be smaller zones within that line that can cause that spin, and it can just take a few minutes to develop and maybe a couple minutes to back off. So those are going to be some of the notches that we look for to identify potential zones of twist that can support a tornado to form. Not seeing an identical sort of bend with the radar data across the capital city, but there's definitely an ongoing trend of very heavy rain. One of the cameras I'm seeing in my peripheral vision is the northeast Tallahassee camera, and if we can bring that up on WSI2, you'll be able to see for yourself. Usually, this is a perspective where if you're looking southwest like the WeatherStem camera is, you can see the Capitol building and the downtown high-rises. No visibility in terms of that because of the intensity of the rain. And if you look closely at the bottom of the screen, you can see the tops of the trees swaying a little bit. So definitely some strong winds taking place within this region. This is based at Hermitage Boulevard, just to the west of Capitol Circle Northeast, and is looking southwest. So a bunch of rain and a good deal of wind. We're not seeing violent movement of the treetops, but there's definitely some elevated wind speeds at that level, which can certainly create hazards. Even if you drove around earlier compared to now, Just like I encountered, you're going to have some various tree debris scattered around, branches, leaves in general, but also perhaps some of the winds can push down trees and block roadways. So that's why it's also very important not to venture out in this current setup because of the nastiness, quite frankly, of the weather that's coming through our area. And we don't even have the lightning count on, but we can flash that for you. And there's plenty of lightning and associated thunder that can probably make things a little more tormentous for you, I guess you could say. But nonetheless, this activity will continue to push towards the east-northeast. Riley, I didn't see the printout or the bulletin. What speed did the notice say that these were going in?
Yes, well, that new tornado warning that's in effect until 11:30, moving northeast at 60 miles.
60. So these are quick-moving systems with what seems like heavy rain that lasts forever. But once this passes out of the Tallahassee metro within the next 15 to 30 minutes, that will be it for our severe weather risk. We'll still have a trail of rain, but nonetheless, this will become an issue for areas to the east of the capital. So if you're watching from Thomas County, especially from Thomasville south along Highway 19, if you're watching from Monticello or Lloyd or perhaps the Asheville area, you'll need to be on guard for what this will evolve into going into the next hour or so, because there is going to be that ongoing trend of gusty winds being carried east into the eastern Big Bend. So you do have a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect until 11:30 here for northern Jefferson and a vast portion of Thomas County. If you're perhaps in Quitman or Valdosta, you'll need to watch these as well after, say, midday. That's when I anticipate some of these severe thunderstorm warnings being issued for you coming up later in the hour. Along the immediate coast, we've had those strong winds and still that very potent line that will start to move out of the Lanark Village area and through St. Teresa. So folks who are within the Alligator Point, Bald Point State Park area and Alligator Drive, for example, and then the Wakulla-Franklin County Bridge over Ocklawakanee Bay, those will be some areas with strong, intense winds that will be enhanced by the onset of the heavy rain. So those are going to be some particular zones where the weather continues to stay hazardous, but we're still watching at least for some more clear identification of any points of spin within this region here of Wakulla County and then northeastern Leon County. So the two different velocity modes that we have at our disposal. If there is any spin going on here in Wakulla County, it's likely going to be associated with this spot here that's riding along 267, moving towards the Wakulla and Wakulla Station area on Highway 363, Woodville Highway, essentially. So this will intersect with Highway 98 to the west of Newport, and based on some of these radar returns on the velocity, the speed mode of how the water droplets are moving in relation to the wind, there's some pretty hefty wind gusts here, and these are likely some elevated wind gusts, especially given that we're seeing a unabated onshore flow off the bay. There's certainly a possibility, easily 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts. Some of these samples showing 65 to maybe upwards of 80 at a certain level above ground. And with any kind of heavy rain that comes from this, there is that possibility that we can see some gustier winds that are experienced at ground level. So areas around, we'll say, Shell Point to Wakulla Beach, over towards St. Mark's and the Lighthouse to the south of there, those will be some gusty winds that head towards you. And again, there's that possibility for a little bit of spin within this notch zone here, which again is approaching the Wakulla and Wakulla Station area. If there is any kind of spin going on with that, or any kind of funnel trying to attempt to spin up, it would most likely be within that region, a strong inflowing wind and a considerable amount of opposing wind coming. Heavy rain. So those are going to be some trends that you will certainly need to continue to stay guarded for here in the east and central portions of Wakulla County along 63 and Wakulla Station and points east of there. So Newport, you'll need to watch that as well along Commerce Boulevard, and then southeastern Leon County. If you are living along the W.W. Kelly Road area, Natural Bridge over towards Tram Road to the north, those are zones where you should also continue to take shelter. And of course, the best place to take shelter, considering most homes here don't have basements or tornado underground shelters, stay inside, interior room, preferably one without windows, and maybe a bathroom because the plumbing can fortify the walls around you if you need that kind of protection for winds that may try to pick up and cause major problems. Again, we continue to monitor these for any kind of suspect spin. We don't have any confirmed sightings based on either the radar mode that tries to find a debris signature. We're not seeing that very clearly, or really not at all, based on my analysis of that. The overall Titan radar storm threat scale also kind of keeps the strong rotation symbol out. But don't be surprised if maybe there's a little bit of hail that falls, especially on the backside, the northern edge of some of these storms, especially where we have those little notches, those little cuts, such as this one right here in the southeast corner of Leon County, which we haven't really analyzed all that greatly yet, but this is approaching the Corey and Rose communities there on the southeast side of Leon County, just along and south of Highway 259. So again, around, I'd say, the W.W. Kelly Road vicinity and over towards the county line is where many of these neighborhoods around the Rose area and points to the south will encounter a time of intense wind gusts coming out of this region. I hear the printer going off, so I'm assuming there could be another situation when it comes to a potential warning, and we'll get that severe thunderstorm warning, and it looks like it could be this one for interior southeast Georgia, Lowndes, Brooks County until 12:45. So again, we mentioned a few minutes ago, we let you know that these storms would start to have an impact around the Withlacoochee River area, and that is certainly being anticipated as the line continues to push across our South Georgia tier. Severe thunderstorm warnings for the time being, no tornado warnings in Brooks or Lowndes County, but definitely anticipate some strong gusty winds coming in your direction over the course of the next several minutes. And Liz, you have something here?
Yeah, I've got some power outage updates for everyone here. I'm going to give you a breakcast. Thank you so much. I just want to go over some power outages that we just got updated from Talquin for Wakulla, rural Leon, Gadsden, and Liberty counties. So affected are 16,608 people. That's as of 11:09 a.m. That was the latest update. And the city of Tallahassee alone, Cass was just showing you that storm that went through. About just under 10,000 people affected as of 11:10 a.m. So a lot of power outages with this storm, obviously, wind having to do a lot with that. So we're going to keep you updated on those power outages, and hopefully, you've charged those phones like we've said over the last couple hours, kept those phones charged, because WTXL.com/live, that's where you can watch us outside of that TV. So, Cass, are you good with that?
Advice there, Liz. Appreciate that. And of course, power outages is definitely something that many of us will encounter. It may not be at the same caliber as what some of us had with Hurricane Idalia or past systems, but there's definitely going to be that inconvenience. And I saw a post from one of the utility services here locally that restoration is suspended until the winds back off, just for the safety of the line people and the other workers who are responsible for reconnecting things after a storm. So if you lose power, just have some patience until this stuff goes through, and then the people will do what they do, and they do it so well, and they'll get your power back on. But in the meantime, if you have had charged your devices and you have alternate means of communication, this would be a good way to at least stay connected to that information and stay in the know. All right, the Northeast Leon County tornado warning has been allowed to expire. The one for the southeast side of the county still in effect until 11:30. We'll continue to monitor this for some areas of spin. We noticed two different areas where we can see some enhanced gustiness with some of these storms, one of which is around the Corey area. And this is what we talk about when we talk about spin-up tornadoes in a situation like this. You have the broader line, it runs into strong incoming winds, and it creates a little bit of a localized counterclockwise twisting motion. Even though there may be forceful winds going in one direction, even a weaker opposite direction nearby can create at least a brief funnel cloud or tornado touchdown. And it's not, no one ever said it's required to have a tornado on the ground to get gusty winds that can cause some damage, power outages, tree branches, and whatnot. So that is definitely the risk that continues here across portions of the southeast side of Leon County, moving towards the west central side of Jefferson County. So the winds picking up and down Highway 59 near the Cody neighborhood. If you are there in far western Jefferson County, close to the Limestone neighborhood and over towards Wassissa and Thomas City. Those are some zones that are within the tornado warning, and that is one area of suspected high wind gust potential based on what we're seeing on the radar data, based on the samples that we're being able to see, probably at about 1,000 feet up from the surface. So 60, 65, maybe up to 70. That is certainly a possibility within this zone. And again, there may be a little weak twist that can enhance these wind gusts. So folks in the Cody neighborhood, Fanlue, it's probably a good idea to continue to keep your safe shelter indoors. But particularly if you're near or south of Capitola, even in the easternmost side of Leon County, I think that's the part of this thunderstorm and the tornado warning around it. That's going to be the point where we can see the maximized wind gust potential that moves from the 259 corridor over towards 59 as it crosses the county line. The other sections that were here in Wakulla County, not quite as clear with those little bends in the radar, so maybe a little less potential for something to spin up now going east of Woodville Highway and north of Newport, but there's still likely going to be some very strong wind gusts within this region. Checking on the shear rates, and this does show a solid line likely of strong outflowing winds with a little bit of twist within a few of these points. So even though there's no official tornado warning at the coast, you've got some pretty strong winds going on, even without looking at official observations. There's definitely the wind force that is going to wreak havoc on some of these areas when it comes to the availability of power or the status of trees, weak trees, branches, and whatnot. That's definitely going to be something that creates problems for folks who encounter those magnitude of winds that can indeed exceed 70 miles per hour within the broader severe thunderstorm warning that still is present here in eastern Wakulla County and southeastern Leon County. This will also push into western Jefferson County over the course of the next few minutes. And there may be another little notch there that I want to focus in on. This is close to the Capitola area along Highway 27, Chairs Capitola. Let's see if there's any, not really too suspicious with the shear there, but there's definitely some strong gusty winds. There are some shear markers that are there kind of on the upper end of weak, lower end strong rate. That's definitely an indication of healthy wind flow within this. It may be more solidly in one direction, but don't be surprised. That's where we kind of see where these quick spin-ups can occur when you have such a healthy and vigorous wind boundary that's upon this area. So from Capitola to Rose and then over towards the Jefferson line and then east of there, Lloyd to Limestone. Those are going to be some areas that are within the tornado warning, and it's just a prudent thing to make sure you stay inside. We're not here to scare folks. We're not here to hype things up. But we are just giving you straightforward information based on what we have seen and what I've been analyzing. And over the years, there's been a lot of storms, so you kind of pick up on some of the patterns that these storms can have when you consider that length of experience. So there are reasons to take this seriously. Don't be disappointed if you don't get a tornado within a tornado warning. Just because one is issued doesn't mean there is definitely one on the ground. It means that there is a potential for one based on what we're seeing on radar. And that's been something that's been common in many of the thunderstorms that have come out of the tri-state region this morning. And that continues to be a threat as we advance into at least the next 9 minutes here with this ongoing tornado warning here across southeast Leon County and western Jefferson County. So looks like a new flash of yellow across, say, Taylor County, the Osceola River area. So severe thunderstorm warning is being issued for some of our eastern Big Bend communities. That's in effect until 1245. So Perry, Hampton Springs, Nuttall Rise, Greenville. Those are some areas. Lamont, if you're in those communities and neighborhoods within them, make sure you are alert to the ongoing issues with this storm as it continues to push its way towards the east. There is the expectation of strong gusty winds heading into the 98 corridor along the Osceola River, Interstate 10 and Highway 90 across Jefferson, Taylor, as well as Madison County. So in Madison, you're kind of right on the eastern edge of that existing severe thunderstorm warning, and you can certainly have such conditions coming in your direction heading into the next hour to an hour and a half. But when it comes to where we can see the ongoing tornado risk and the strongest wind gust that's connected to this line coming now beginning to push out of the Tallahassee city limits proper. Still some lingering areas of gusty winds and heavy rain, especially Southwood, some of the eastern suburbs around the Wadesboro, Baum community as well, Chairs, Capitola. But when it comes to what is giving us the ongoing threat for a tornado that could possibly form is within these little notches here that are just along the Leon-Jefferson County line. So in Corey and Rose, you'll have some eventual improving weather. You still have heavy rain falling, but a lot of that strong inflowing wind and even some of the outflow with the heavy rain, that's going to affect areas along Highway 59 eventually and areas west of there in Jefferson County. So we mentioned Cody earlier. The thunderstorm is still a few miles to your west. It'll continue to move. There's the latest scan, getting closer to the Cody neighborhood and passing along now mostly east of the St. Marks River in Leon County and beginning to push towards the 59 corridor. Lloyd and its intersection with Highway 27. Those are going to be some neighborhoods and communities near the Waukena area. That's one particular point where we can see those strong winds beginning to push in over the course of the next few minutes. So this is something that is going to be pretty imminent, I'd say within 5 to 10 minutes for these neighborhoods along 59 and 27, Waukena south towards Thomas City, Wassissa as well, and again near Cody, where again, anywhere within that little line of heavy rain and strong winds, there can be something that quickly spins up, and it may not last a whole lot of time, and you may not get anything spinning up and touching the ground at all. But there's definitely, I keep emphasizing the wind. Don't underestimate the wind. The winds have been howling all morning long across many of our neighborhoods, and it's a wind that's not like our typical round of severe weather. This has been something that's already triggered dozens of reported fallen trees, some scattered power outages, as Elizabeth was talking about earlier. So this is going to be something that even outside any actual touchdown of a tornado, the wind is going to be something that is going to be kind of wide sweeping across many areas. And that's going to continue to make a move into our eastern communities, east of the Tallahassee Metro and into the Osceola River area eventually, heading into the next half hour. So officially, we still have about 5 minutes left on the tornado warning. If the warning is discontinued and nothing else is issued in advance of that, we'll take a little break, but we're not quite there yet. Let's take a look at one of the communities that's in the line of this thunderstorm based on the WeatherStem camera in Monticello. That gives us a perspective of the downtown roundabout and the overall clouds that are coming in on WSI2. So there's plenty of ongoing trends that support adverse weather coming in. Here's the current scene. Look at those winds. Look at those trees just swaying. The tops are going back and forth. The power line just outside the gas station, it's swaying around. So this is not beautiful weather at any point. It may be cool to see, but it's not cool to be out in that kind of weather. So only a couple of cars are out there. Hopefully folks here in Monticello, in the city itself, you do not have a tornado warning, but you are in that severe thunderstorm warning zone. And that means those winds, they're kicking, and they'll continue to do so for the foreseeable next 10, 20, probably 30 minutes as that line starts to advance towards the Monticello area between now and about the bottom of the hour at 11:30. So keep that in mind. You don't have to have something on the ground to create adverse conditions, and the tornado warning itself cuts off just west of Monticello. And again, we'll have a status update on that within the next few minutes to see if there's any kind of continuation of that warning zone. If there is, we'll stick with you here on our various digital platforms and over the air. If it is discontinued, I'd say maybe breathe a little easier, and we will here as well in the First to Know Weather Center. It doesn't mean our work is done, because we can see maybe a few more warnings along this line. However, the overall expectation is for this to become maybe less capable of creating spin-up tornadoes as it pushes into the eastern side of the region. Doesn't mean we can't have any more tornado warnings if things do spin up, especially near the coastal regions, but nonetheless, This is going to be something that focuses more in the I-75 corridor next few hours and eventually into the Suwannee River Valley into the early afternoon time frame. So there's plenty of reasons for folks in Live Oak and Perry and Mayo, as well as in Statenville, Jennings, Jasper, Lakeland, and even Homerville. Plenty of reasons for those folks and our friends there to continue to monitor the situation accordingly, as I do expect more severe thunderstorm warnings to be issued downstream from this during the course of the early afternoon hours. About 3 minutes left on our tornado warning. We'll see if there's any other little suspect spots of spin, or at least those little gaps and notches that kind of appear when we have such intense gusty winds coming up into the thunderstorm line. So again, this is going to be something that affects Highway 59 community, especially from Waukena to the south. Beginning to push through Fanlue, but you'll still have some strong winds maybe on the backside of this, and not so much in the way of twisting or maybe just some general broad circulation within this region. But those will be the zones over the course of the next couple of minutes where we do have strong wind gusts. Wassissa, also watch out in Caps, where those winds will be gusting pretty heftily within the next 5 minutes for you and along any of the neighborhoods that are around Highway 27 and 59 here in west central Jefferson County, as this line of active storms and just very strong wind gusts continue to cause issues for many of our neighborhoods over the course of the next few hours. But at least in Havana, in Midway, in Bainbridge, it looks like the severe weather threat, I would say, is pretty much done for you. If you are west of this line, and like Camilla, Colquitt, you had your round of severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings earlier. Now you have more settled weather. Once this line comes through, some rain will trail for a little bit. You'll still have some breezes, but it will not be as intense as what we're seeing with the line and to the east of that line heading into the midday hour, and for our eastern counties going beyond midday into the early afternoon. So 1 more minute or so with that tornado warning. If it is discontinued and not reissued, or a new warning comes out, we'll get you back to the view. But for the time being, we still want to just reiterate that this has been a very active line of storms. We had confirmed tornado activity in the eastern panhandle tri-state region. So these storms are not something to take lightly. You don't have to panic or be overly worried about it, especially in the capital city. Rain is still around, but the worst of the weather has already pushed to the east. It's going to be an issue for folks along Highway 75, 319, especially in the interior of our South Georgia communities and Colquitt County, perhaps even Cook County, and then into the eastern Big Bend as we advance into the afternoon. So Madison, Perry, Mayo, Live Oak, Jennings, and communities and neighborhoods surrounding those areas, those are going to be the zones where you need to continue to be on a watchful eye as this thunderstorm complex moves to the east. Okay, the tornado warning has been dropped. We'll wait just another few seconds just to be sure that we don't have a reissuance. And just based on the overall trends, I haven't seen any solid evidence that would bring up a tornado warning within the next minute or two. So just keep in mind, gusty winds are still going to be very common across the area, especially in our eastern counties as we advance towards midday and beyond this afternoon. We still have a tornado watch for many of our counties. It expires at 2 o'clock, and we'll see if there's any kind of need for extended watches across our eastern counties. Once we get to that 2 o'clock hour, that will be assessed by the Storm Prediction Center and our local National Weather Service folks. And with any changes of that, we'll certainly bring them to you through our various means. I'm First to Know Chief Meteorologist Casanova Nurse. If we have another tornado warning, we'll come back on the air when it happens. But for now, we'll take you back to normal programming here on ABC 27.